Good evening, Antonia and Howard. Antonia, can you hear me at all? Maybe to unmute.
How's that?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, sorry. Yeah, I was talking to you. Is that better? You okay now?
Yeah, I think so. I'm hearing myself feeding back to you, I think.
I've got no echo, but I can hear you quite clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly, but when I'm talking, I'm hearing myself coming back. You're not using a television, are you?
Absolutely not. No, it's just the laptop.
Oh. I'm just going to mute you for a second, see if the problem goes away. Right, that's definitely better. So, hi Anita, I wish you long life.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna I'll unmute Antonia again. Antonia. Yeah. Hi Antonia. Did you want to light candles tonight?
Yes, I would like to, if I may.
Lovely.
Thank you. And also, I don't know whether you had the message from Anne, because we're almost certainly away where my father is.
Yeah, both parents.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, no problem at all.
It's gone all echoey again.
Yeah, I'm just going to mute Antonia again. Right, is that better now?
Yeah, that's fine now. It only seems to be when she's unmuted.
Antonia's end. I don't quite know what the problem is there, but we'll just unmute her when necessary anyway. So for most of the service, she'll be on mute. Let me omit Brigitte a second. Shabbat Shalom, Brigitte.
Shabbat Shalom, Stefan.
Yeah. And sorry, Anita, you know we won't read your mother's name out tonight.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, we because we normally won't. Obviously, don't do anything until after a funeral has taken place. So I hope you won't feel offended.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Feels like the COVID days.
Yeah, well, a little bit like that, yes. Well, actually, it's good to have a few faces because we've had a few Fridays on Zoom where there's been very few people, so it's nice to see some faces we recognise.
That's it.
Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Hello, Stefan. A belated Happy New Year to you.
Yes, it's worrying when you get to the end of January and you're still wishing people Happy New Year.
I wish into mid-February, actually, and then I stop. My cut-off's about the sort of 16th of February. Then it just becomes silly.
That's it. Well, unfortunately, Rabbi Kathleen won't be with us tonight. She's not very well. Just a bad cold. So she'll do my best to take a service tonight. I spoke to her
going
earlier.
Around, unfortunately, the old lady.
Yeah, well, it's that sort of time of year, and I suppose you're in and out of, like, you're in the warm and then you're out in the cold again, and it's unfortunately in her line of work, where she's had unfortunately a number of funerals and shivers to take. You're outside, you can't even sort of go somewhere in the warm. You're outside for a couple of hours, which doesn't help at all.
No.
So, I'll just give it a couple of minutes more.
Stefan, it's not a pleasant question, but do most Mosaic members from Reform end up at Cheshire?
Well, that is our
default.
Yes, I think unless I'm trying to think where else. I think basically that's where it is. It's been Cheshire. There are a number of people who joined the scheme many years ago, when it may not have been Cheshunt, it might have been somewhere else. But as a general rule, it's Cheshunt, unless I think you can get buried wherever you like. Obviously, there's normally a mandatory adjustment that needs to be made if you want to get buried somewhere else. Obviously, some of our members who live a long way away, Cheshunt is not local to them. If you're up north or something like that, But yeah, Chestnut is the default cemetery for Reform and, curious enough, for Masorti. I can't remember where the Liberal default cemetery is, so to speak.
Edgeworbury Lane.
Where's it? Edgeworbury Lane.
Yes.
Oh, right. Let me now.
Even closer. Yeah,
Okay.
that's interesting.
Right, I think Mandy is joining us. Excellent. We'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll get started.
How's Mandy, if she will?
Sorry?
Mandy will?
Yeah, she's fine, thank you. She's having the evening off, I think.
Good for her.
Right, I'll get my... Shall put my tullet on?
Are there any in-person services on a Friday?
We do once a month. We do what they call Shabbat Babayit, which is an in-person service followed by a meal. If you would like to stay for the meal, so it's the second Shabbat of every month. There is an in-person service. Obviously, because we alternate between Liberal and Reform. Sometimes it's Reform-led, sometimes it's Liberal-led. I think the last one was Reform-led. I think the next one in February will be Liberal-led. And then Masorti also have a service, and then everybody gets together for dinner afterwards. So I think last time there were about 20 odd people there for dinner. So if you don't have to stay for dinner, and equally you can come for dinner and not come for the service if you wish. It's up to you. So, yeah. Shabbat Shalom Rania, Shabbat Shalom Dean.
No.
Right, I think we're almost ready to start. Almost. Yep. Okay, well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm going to put you all on mute a second. There we go. So, first of all, apologies from Rabbi Kathleen, who unfortunately is not feeling... she's feeling slightly under the weather, let's say, with a bad cold at the moment. So we thought we'd give her the evening off. And hopefully she'll be all right for tomorrow, because there's a lot happening tomorrow at the synagogue, being Holocaust Memorial Day, or that this weekend. So lots of things happening at the synagogue. So before we start our service tonight, I thought we'd start with a meditation. Now this meditation you can find on page 97 of the Reform Siddur, but if you haven't got a Reform Siddur, don't worry, because I'll share my screen so we can all see it. And it reads as follows. Our Creator, you have made us the masters of your world, to tend it, to serve it, and to enjoy it. For 6 days we measure and we build, we count and carry the real and the imagined burdens of our task, the success we earn and the price we pay. On this, the Shabbat day, give us rest. For 6 days, if we are weary or bruised by the world, if we think ourselves giants or cause others pain, there is never a moment to pause and know what we should really be. On this, the Shabbat day, give us time. For 6 days, we are torn between our private greed and the urgent needs of others, between the foolish noises in our ears and the silent prayer of our soul. On this, the Shabbat day, give us understanding and peace. Help us, God, to carry these lessons of rest and time, of understanding and peace, into the 6 days that lie ahead, to bless us in the working days of our lives. And with that, we'll start our service with Ma Tovu, which you can find on page 101 of the Reform Siddur, or 105 of Siddur Lev Chadash. Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu ohalaich Leah mishkanotayich Rachel. And with that, it brings us to the lighting of the Shabbat candles. Now, Antonio, I hope you've got candles there. I'll ask you to unmute yourself, and ideally, if you could turn your camera on so we could see the candles, that would be helpful. Can you hear us, Antonio? I've got candles here ready to light. Lovely. We can all light candles together. Antonio, do you want to unmute yourself, and then we can hear you? and then we can all light candles together.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Great stuff.
Right, okay. Here, let's see. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvoso, v'tzivonu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Good Shabbos, everybody. Right. Let me change my picture back. And with that, we move on to our first tune of the night, so to speak, Shalom Aleichem, which you can find on page 104 in the Reform Siddur, page 76 in Siddur Lev Chadash. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we turn to Psalm 95, which you can find on page 111 of the Reform Siddur, page 70 of Siddur Lev Chadash. Come, let us sing out to the Eternal, call out to the rock of our safety. Let us come before God with thanks, call out to God with psalms. For the Eternal is Almighty God, a mighty ruler beyond all gods. The depths of the earth are in God's hand, and also the mountain peaks. The sea is God's, it is God who made it, whose power has shaped the land. Come in, let us worship and bend low, humble before the Eternal our Maker. For such is our God, and we are a people God pastures, a flock in God's hand. Today, if you would only hear God's voice. And with that, we turn to page 121 in the Reform Siddur, page 73 in Siddur Lev Chadash, for Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela, Shamo v'zacho b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el Chamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem ultiferet v'lid hila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi makor habracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machashava tehila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Panei Shabbat nekabela. Hitorari, hitorari, kiva orech kumi ori. Uri, uri, shir daberi, kavod Adonai alayich, alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'sohola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, P'nei Shabbat nekabela. And we turn now to page 126 in the Reform Siddur, page 90 in Siddur Lev Chadash for Psalm 93. Adonai malach geut, lavesh lavesh Adonai, oz hital zaraf tikon, tevel baltimot. Nachon kisacha meyaz, meolam ata. Nasu naharot Adonai, nasu naharot kolam. Yesu naharot dochyam, mikolot mayim rabim. Adirim mishpareyam, adir bamarum Adonai. Eidotecha nemmu ma'od, leveitcha nahava kodesh. Adonai, Adonai, le'orech yamim. We turn now to the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach La'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poter sha'arim, uvidvuna meshane etim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsadeh et hakochavim, b'mishmroteim barakia kiratzono. Barei yom v'layla, golel o mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei o, hama'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla. Adonai Sivaot Shemo, Baruch Ata Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. With everlasting love you have loved your people, the family of Israel. Teaching and practice, duty and justice, these you have taught us. Therefore, our God and guide, we think upon all this before we sleep and when we wake, and rejoice and delight in your teaching and its practice for ever and ever. For they are our life and the measure of our days. We keep them in mind both day and night. Never take your love away from us. Blessed are you, God, who loves your people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod, Shem Kavod, Malchuto, La'olam, La'olam Va'ed. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, V'chol levavecha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol ma'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi metzavecha, hayom al levavecha, ושינמתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לתוצפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. And we'll continue in silence for a few moments, reading the second and third paragraphs of the Shema. They follow straight on in the Reform Siddur, but if you are looking at Siddur Lev Chadash, you can find those on page 539, but you'll need to put your finger in the page and come back to page 94 for Laman Tizkaru in a few moments. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Emet ve'emuna kol zot v'kayam aleinu, ki hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ein zulato, va'anachnu Yisrael amo. העושה גדולות אין חקר, ונפלאות עד אין מספר, וראו בניו גבורתו, שיבחו והודו לשמו, ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם. משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לך אנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ויאמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדור בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. מלכותך אדוני אלוהינו, ראו בניך על הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. Baruch Ata Adonai, Go'al Yisrael. Source of our life and our sovereign, cause us to lie down in peace and rise again to enjoy life. Spread over us the covering of your peace, guide us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. He is a shield about us, turning away every enemy, disease, violence, hunger and sorrow. Remove the temptation that awaits us and the guilt that lies behind us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings, for you are a God who guards and protects us, a ruler of mercy and compassion. Guard us when we go out and when we come in, to enjoy life and peace both now and forever, and spread over us the shelter of your peace. Blessed are you, God, spreading the shelter of peace over us, over your people Israel, and over all the world. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית olam. And that brings us to the Amidah, which you can find on page 140 of the Reform Siddur and page 97 of Siddur Lev Chadash. Our God, open our lips, and our mouths shall declare your praise. Adonai, sifotai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, sifotai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'Elohei imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Rivka, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanura, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Konei Hakol, v'zocheh chasdei avot ve'imahot, u'mevii go'el livnei v'neihem, למען שמו באהבה. מלך חוזה ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, פוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך? מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You made the seventh day holy to your name as the end of creation of heaven and earth. You blessed it above all other days and made it holier above all other times. And so it is written in your Torah, Vayechulu hashemayim v'haaretz v'chol tziva'am, Vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melachto asher asa, Vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa, Vayevorech Elohim et yom hashvi'i vayekadesh oto, ki vo shevat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asot. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu, Ritzeina v'imnuchatenu, Kadshenu v'mitzvotecha, sim chalkenu v'toratecha, sabenu mituvecha, samach nafshenu v'shuatecha, v'taher libenu la'avdacha be'emet, v'hanchi leinu Adonai Eloheinu ba'ava v'ratzon Shabbat kodshecha, v'yanuchu va kol Yisrael makadshei shemecha, Baruch ata Adonai makadesh haShabbat. Ratzei Adonai Eloheinu ba'amcha Yisrael v'litfilatam she'eh, uvrachamecha harabim tachpatz banu, v'tashrei shechinatecha al Tzion, v'techazena einenu b'shuvacha l'Tzion barachamim, Baruch ata Adonai hamachazea shechinato l'Tzion. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu l'olam va'ed, Tzurenu tzur chayenu u'magen yishenu ato hu, L'dor v'ador nodeh lecha u'nsapeh tilatecha, al chayenu chamsurim biadecha, v'al nishmotenu hapkudot lach, v'al nisecha shebachol yom imanu, v'al niflotecha v'tovotecha shebachol et erev v'avoker v'tzoharayim. Hatov kilo chalu rachamecha, hamrachem kilo tamu chasadecha, ki me'olam ki vinu lach, ve'al kulam yitbarach v'yitromem v'yitnaseh, tamid shimcha malkenu la'olam va'ed, v'chol chachayim yaducha sela, v'yahalalu v'yavarochu et shimcha hagadol be'emet, ha'al yeshuatenu v'ezratenu sela, Baruch ata Adonai, ha'tov shimcha u'lacha ne'er l'hodot. Set true peace upon your people Israel forever, for you are the source of all peace, and in your eyes it is good to bless your people Israel at every time and in every hour with your peace. Blessed are you, God, blessing your people Israel with peace. And we'll just take a few moments of silence. Yehu l'ratzon imrei fi, v'hegion libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri v'goali. May the Maker of peace in the highest bring this peace upon us, and upon all Israel, and upon all the world. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol ha'olam, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol ha'olam. And that brings us to the end of the Amidah. Now, normally at this stage, Rabbi Kathleen will give a small sermon. Fortunately, I'm not Rabbi Kathleen, which means I don't do a small sermon, but I have got something for you tonight. So I think first, though, we should recite the blessing for study. If I can find it. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushonu b'mitzvotav v'tzivonu la'asok b'divrei Torah. I'm not certain if anybody watches, there's a programme on, I think it's BBC, called Repair Shop. I don't know if anybody's seen that at all. Okay, you're all for. There was a thing, I think it was about May time, a wonderful story about a Haggadah that got restored. I don't know if did anybody see the programme? Okay, well this is news. Okay, so I'm going to share a couple of things on my screen. So share that. So this gentleman is a gentleman called Gary Fisher, And Gary Fisher went along to the repair shop and he brought in with him a Haggadah. This is the Haggadah actually after it was restored. They did an amazing job. The edges of the cover were frayed, it was falling apart. But a very, very special book. And the gentleman who restored the book said it was probably the most important book he will ever restore in his life. This is all very appropriate on Holocaust Memorial Day, as I'll explain. Gary explained the prayer book was very special to him. It was his grandparents' book, and they took it with them when they were captured and taken to a concentration camp. Basically, his grandparents lived in Vienna, and they had one son called Harry. And when Hitler annexed the Austrian country, obviously the persecution of the Jews started. Now, England at that time agreed to take 10,000 children on the Kindertransport. And Gary's father, Harry, came across in 1938 on his own as a child on the Kindertransport. But his grandparents were left in Austria. They couldn't get out of the country. Now, in 1942, his grandparents were taken to a concentration camp in Czechoslovakia. And the camp they went to was Theresienstadt. Now, Theresienstadt was a concentration camp which was, in some respects, a bit of a propaganda exercise. It was used to try to show the rest of the world that the Germans really weren't treating the Jews as badly as they were, which, of course, we all know was absolute rubbish. It was all propaganda. And yet a mile further down the road from that camp, of course, Jews were going to the gas chambers. And Adolf Hitler was trying to hide the fact that they were murdering and killing people. And unfortunately, a number of Gary's family ended up in the gas chambers. His great-grandparents, one of his grandfather's sisters, and his grandfather's 10-year-old nephew, unfortunately did not survive the camp. But thankfully, his grandparents did. And it was his grandparents who brought this Haggadah back with them. And the thing about, because it was Theresienstadt, and the Germans wanted people to observe the fact that the Jews were living fairly normally, they allowed them to take some belongings in. Normally, most of the concentration camps, when they went in, they were stripped of all their possessions. But in this case, they were allowed to keep a few things, and his grandparents kept the Haggadah, and it was the thing that kept them going through the camp. And his grandfather, actually, he annotated it, and he actually wrote a poem. In fact, you can just see there at the top of the picture, he not only did he write a poem, he also drew a sort of wall with doors like an ark, and there were Magen David inside it, and he wrote this wonderful poem in German, which I shall read, not in German, I'll do the English translation in a moment. So he wrote this poem in it, and when they were liberated, the other inmates of the camp all signed the book, or about 50 of the inmates of the camp signed this book. So this book is a real piece of history because it documents these people that actually survived the camp together. And I'll come back to that poem because I think, as I said, with Holocaust Memorial Day being celebrated yesterday, tomorrow, this weekend, whenever, this poem was written in German. Now, the translation, I think, is fairly accurate. I got some of it from what was read on the programme, but of course they edited bits of it out. I got some of it from the piece of paper he was reading from and some of it from Google Translate. So forgive me if it's not 100% accurate, but the poem reads as follows. It says, "Do you know we were also there? We stood together through summer and winter. You were there with us in spirit, despite the loaf of bread that was given to you in silence when someone was desperate. Bind our arms and legs together and ease the pain of sleepless hours when one of us was ill. Yes, I know you don't want to be thanked. And soon a new day will come when we will forget our daily worries, when we will part from one another. But you will be prepared for when we see each other again, and on that day we shall all be free from tyranny." A very moving poem, and it's a real object of history, this thing. I think it'd be fair to say anybody who saw the programme, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And if anybody wants to see that programme, by the way, it's still on iPlayer. If you want to go see it, I think it was series 10, episode 2, something like that. But very, very touching moment. And when he actually saw the Haggadah having been restored, It was just amazing. And he doesn't want to keep the Haggadah. He wants it to go somewhere where it will be seen and live on as a living monument to those people who are in the concentration camps. So I think a fascinating story and very appropriate on this weekend, I think. So there you go. As I said, not a sermon, but something different anyway. So hopefully that was meaningful to everybody. And with that, we will turn to Aleinu, which you can find on page 310 of the Reform Siddur and page 520 of Siddur Lev Chadash. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא וראשית, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. על כן נקווה לך, אדוני אלוהינו, לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך, להעביר גלולים מן הארץ, והאלילים קרות יכרתון, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי, וכל בני בשר יקרו בשמך, להפנות אליך כל ראשי ארץ, יכירו וידעו כל יושבי תבל, כי לך תכרע כל ברך, תשבע כל לשון. לפניך אדוני אלוהינו יכרעו ויפלו, ולכבוד שמך יקר יתנו, ויקבלו כולם את עול מלכותך, ותמלוך עליהם מהרה לעולם ועד. כי המלכות שלך היא, ועולמי עד תמלוך בכבוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. On page 315 in the Reform Siddur. I'm not certain the exact page on Siddur Lev Chadash, but I think you're just listening along. Page 315. The souls of the righteous are in the hands of God, and no harm shall come to them. God, source of compassion, you give life in which joys and sorrow are mingled, and send death with its promise of eternal peace. We mourn this week the deaths of Angela Samuels, wife of Gerald, mother of Melanie Waxman and Samantha Brass, and Shirley Abrahams, mother of Sally Spooner and Stephen Abrahams. May you comfort their families and all who mourn for them. May God, who is full of compassion, whose presence is over us, cover them in the shelter of your wings forever, and bind their souls into the gathering of life. We remember at this time all those who once shared with us the joys and challenges of life, but who are with us no longer. May their souls shine like the brightness of the heavens. We thank you for all you gave them during their lives. We think especially of those who died at this time in years past. And in Mosaic Liberal, we remember Michael Berman, father of Gina Greenglass, Sarah Gilbert, grandmother of Rosalind Bott, Lily Lyons, mother of Helen Sinclair, Bunty Phillips, aunt of Lindsay Cohen, and Ekva Sharon, aunt of Hannah Schlesinger. And in Mosaic Reform, we remember Tony Holman, husband of Linda Holman and father of Michael Holman and Zoe Witt, Arthur Lewis Wyman, father of David Wyman, David Burnett, father of Caroline Chadwick, David Sadian, father of Diana Sophia, Elizabeth and Benjamin de Winter, parents of Antonia Berger, Ephraim Herman, grandfather of Stephen Latham, Godfrey Grossman, father of Cindy Watman, Ivor Allen, father of Linda Silverstone, James Grant, father of Viv Levinson, Jan Langer, husband of Annette Ashmill, Koppel Goodman, father of Rachel Young, Leah Rosenblum, mother of Mariam Bloom, Louis Savelovich, father of Helen West, Marianne Beaton, mother of Mary Serene, Michael Citron, brother of Marion Ingram, Pearl Morris, mother of Linda Holman and grandmother of Michael Holman and Zoe Witt, Queenie Herman, grandmother of Stephen Latham, Ron Abrahams, friend of Ruby Nerva, and Simon Marks, son of Brenda Marks. Zichronam livracha, may the memory of their love and guidance be a source of enduring blessing. In loving memory, we sanctify your name. We say together, Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'vyomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala avizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mavarach v'olam olamei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yithada v'yithalev v'yithalal, Shemei dikudsha b'rechu. La'ela min kol bechata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, di'amiram ba'alma v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shalom Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh Shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol ha'olam, v'yimru Amen. And to Antonia and to Anita, on behalf of all of us here at Mosaic, we wish you long life, free from further sorrow. Okay, we have some announcements, if I can find the right thing to share. Bear with me a second. Okay, well, first of all, tomorrow morning, Shabbat morning services will be, as usual, Reform service at 10:30 in the synagogue and also on Zoom, led by Rabbi Kathleen, and Liberal service 10:45, synagogue and Zoom, led by Rabbi Rachel. In terms of things coming up in the next week or so, or next few days, you can always find out what's happening at the synagogue by going to the website, click on calendar. You'll be able to see everything that's happening over a month, and then you can click on each thing to find out what exactly it's all about. Oops, let's get there. Okay, so tomorrow morning, as I said, we've got Masorti, Reform and Liberal Services. Tomorrow, because it's Holocaust Memorial Day, Lord Austin of Dudley will actually be joining the Reform service. I think he's giving a sermon as part of the Reform service. But after the service and the joint Kiddush, there'll be a light luncheon, and then he's going to be talking about his experiences and his thoughts about remembrance. So that'll be at the synagogue only. It's not on Zoom tomorrow. It's only going to be in the synagogue. But that's immediately after the Shabbat service tomorrow. Sunday, I think, is the last. Sorry, it's Monday. That is, Monday is the last day you can see the boys' quilts in the synagogue. They're being taken down. But we do have another art exhibition by Marcia Cooperberg, which is, I think, it's going for about 4 weeks, I think it's about 4 weeks it's going on for. If you want to come along to that, that's Wednesday onwards. Walking group meets on Tuesday, Friendship Club on Tuesday. There's a drop-in and play group for those people with young children and their associated parents or grandparents. If you want to come along to that, 1:30 to 3, that's on Tuesday. We have Untangling Our Tradition on Tuesday night, and I believe on Thursday night there's also Talmud class. It's not on the calendar, but we need to get that rectified if it is. There's Bridging Scrabble, and that's about it for the week. So quite a few things to interest you if you want. For anything further forward than that, please take a look at the website, look at the newsletter. There's plenty going on. And with that, we'll conclude the service. We normally have a vote about this time because we have a vote. We're never certain if we want Adon Olam or Yigdal. So I'll put it to the congregation today. Hands up for Adon Olam. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think. Okay, and hand up for Yigdal. 2. I think Adon Olam's got it. I'm afraid. Next time we'll have to remember Yigdal. Okay. I think we just do a traditional one. Okay, Adon Olam, page 320 in the Reform Siddur, page, I think it's 525 in Siddur Lev Chadash. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yetzir nivra li'et nasa kachefs hakol azay melech shemo nikra V'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hove v'hu yeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'ein sheni lehamshir lo lehachbira b'li reshit b'li tachlit V'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra v'hu eli v'chai goali v'tzur chevli b'yom sara v'hu nisi umanusi manat kosi b'yom ekra b'yado avkid ruchi V'etishan v'ya'ira v'yimruchi gaviati Adonai li v'lo ira. And we conclude with our final blessing. Yevarachenu Adonai v'yishmerenu. May God bless us and keep us. Ya'er Adonai panav eleinu v'chunenu. May God's face shine upon us and be gracious to us. Yisa Adonai panav eleinu v'yasem lanu shalom. May God's face turn towards us and give us and the rest of the world shalom, peace. Amen and Shabbat shalom. And we'll move on to Kiddush, which you can find on page 452 of the Reform Siddur, 564 in Siddur Lev Chadash. If you have a becher and you have some, I say, wine, orange juice, lemonade, water, whiskey, vodka, whatever you fancy, really. Just don't drink the petrol or the methylated spirits. That's all. But whatever else you would like. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'avav rotzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Ki hu yom tehila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך בעבור רצון הנהלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim. And on the off chance that anybody has got any bread or having bread later, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Well, Shabbat Shalom to you all. I'm going to unmute you all. There we go. So, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
That's from
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom,
Thank you very much, Stefan.
Thank you very much.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you,
Thank
Stefan.
you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Antonia. Howard, good to see you.
Take care.
I think we've got a bit of an echo on Howard for some reason. I don't know what's causing it, but everything is echoing.
What echo? I can't hear one.
Oh dear.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Take care.
You're very welcome. We'll see some of you maybe tomorrow. The rest of you have a wonderful week. And look after yourselves. And we'll see you all again soon. Have a safe journey home, everybody.
Take care.
Shabbat Shalom.